Hello and welcome back to Wellywood Wargaming. It is 2023 now, so Happy New Year to all of you out there watching these videos. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everybody for helping me reach 3,000 subscribers. That's a fantastic achievement for me, and long may it continue. So yeah, thank you very much for that. And on with 2023. Of course, I haven't done many videos in a while because my setup here in Australia is not complete. I still have all my stuff coming over on a shipping container, so hopefully it will be here end of February. And I'll be able to resume in some sort of semblance of what I once did in New Zealand. But for the time being, I thought it was about time that I got back behind the camera and did another video for you. This one is going to be on alliances for Necromunda, what they are, how they work, and just what they're for, basically. So I'm going to be breaking it down in Damon's terms, so to speak, as to what alliances are in Necromunda. So without further ado, let's get into it. So if you're fairly new to Necromunda or you've been playing for a long time and you're a bit of a veteran, you will have noticed that Forge World have been putting out some incredible miniatures for the game. In fact, I would say that Forge World have been punching well above their weight on Necromunda specifically, compared to the other systems of miniatures that they've been doing. But you'll notice that in that catalogue of Forge World Necromunda miniatures, there are some of them which are alliances. So you've got the Slavers Guild, for example, the Water Guild, House Grime, and a few of the other, I think that's it for now. I'm not really sure what else is out, but there are a few alliances that you can get as miniatures through Forge World. So those alliances are to be used in games of Necromunda, and I'm going to explain exactly how that happens. So alliances are Games Workshop's way of making a balancing mechanic for Necromunda. What I mean by balancing is that Necromunda campaigns can, in the current iteration of the game, become a little bit money focused. It can be a little bit of an arms race. That's my only real gripe with the current system of the game. Depends on the sort of campaign that you're playing and the campaign setup that you're playing and the house rules and stuff. But long story short, Necromunda's current iteration can be a little bit topsy-turvy. The gangs that win lots tend to be way ahead in terms of the size and money and wealth and all that. And the gangs that fall behind tend to struggle. So there needs to be a balancing mechanic, and alliances are one of those official balancing mechanics. There are other balancing mechanics, of course, that I've spoken about in other videos and will do after this as well. But for the time being, we're just talking about alliances. So making an alliance in Necromunda, if you are quite low in gang rating and you're falling behind a little bit, then an alliance is probably for you. Of course, any gang in a campaign can use an alliance if your arbitrator is cool with it. Some are better than others, some are terrible, some are broken. And I'm going to sort of go through what I think they are overall. But firstly, we're just going to get into the actual rules around them. So entering into alliance, you can do this at any point. You can do it at the start of a game. Only be in one alliance at a time, and they last for that entire campaign phase. So they don't last for an entire campaign, they last for just that one phase. And at the end of it, you can break it yourself voluntarily, or the alliance, if you're unlucky and you roll badly, your alliance can break with you as well. Now, there's also alignment factored into that as well. So if you are using outlaw and lawful alignments in your Necromunda campaigns, then if you are lawful, you will have access to the noble house alliances as well as the guild house alliances. If you are a criminal, an outlaw, you will be able to use the noble house alliances as well as the recidivists, which is a hard word to say, but not the guilds. So it really does depend on your alliance there. If you're but either way, you get to use the noble house. The noble houses don't seem to care about whether you are a criminal or not. So while you're allied, you can't use house favors and subplots. We're going to get into house favors and subplots in probably the next video or the next Sump Banter video, because that's another balancing mechanic, or another two balancing mechanics that I need to talk about as well. And the next thing is, of course, joining the battle. Now, they wouldn't create miniatures for stuff that wasn't to be played on the tabletop. So, of course, these alliances do get played on the tabletop, depending on how high your rep is, really. So you have tests and stuff to make with alliances, and each alliance, each guild has their own different success level as well. So generally speaking, the lower your rep, the easier it is for them to turn up for you, depending on which guild it is that you're allied with as well. But that's called aid. So yeah, each alliance that requires an aid test will specify a success level. So for example, here in front of me, I've got the Promethean Guild here. If they're going to turn up, you need an 11 or less, and that's a D6 roll plus your rep. So the lower rep you have, the more likely they are to turn up, needing an 11 or less. By contrast, you've got the Iron Guild there, which is a 9 or less. So they're even less likely to turn up than your Promethean Guild there as well. But the Alliance representatives consist of 1 to 5 fighters. They're never more than that. They're always fielded together, and they must operate together as well, meaning that a crew must contain all or none. They have a special rule called Here to Help, which means they join the battle in addition to the standard crew, regardless of method, whether it's random or custom in that scenario as well. And this may effectively allow 1 to 5 more fighters in your starting crew than you should have, but that's part of the balancing mechanic that we're talking about here. If they turn up, then generally it's because you're the underdog. Now, if included, they join the gang's crew, regardless, like I said, of random or custom, and they're free to hire as well. So they don't actually affect your gang rating. So that means that if you are using sort of inducements and stuff, they don't affect your gang rating, but they will affect your crew rating, I suppose, depending on how your arbitrator sees it. And they've got the sort of standard abilities as well. So the leader of one of these parties has group activation 2, and leading by example as well, and the champions have your group activation 1 and leading by example of 6 inches, etc. as well. The next rule is called a band apart. Now they count as a separate gang or a separate faction for the purposes of overseer and group activation and leading by example, etc. So for a number of different rules, if there are tactics cards that specify faction, then of course these guys won't be affected by those either. I think, you know, for example, Delac might have some Psychoterica that doesn't work on, you know, just works on Delac. These guys won't count for that chorus of Psychoterica or anything like that either. So likewise with Articles of Faith, these guys will not generate faith dice because they're not part of your actual gang. So they're treated as part of the allied gang in every other respect, and they ignore lasting injury rolls. Automatically treated as out cold when they go out of action. So you can't unfortunately get XP for killing them because they don't die, they just go out cold when you take them out of action. You've then got your bodyguard. So if the specific fighter type is within 2 inches and hit by a ranged attack, the hit and all its effects can be transferred onto this fighter exactly the same way as a cherub for the Redemptionists can be used. There are a few of these that are labelled as bodyguards, and they get that bodyguard rule to the leader of that party as well, which is pretty cool. The next rule is indentured fighters. So if only the bodyguards remain on the battlefield and the rest of the Alliance representatives are removed for whatever reason, they count as having failed their bottle test, regardless of how many fighters in total have been removed from the battle. Testing the Alliance here. So when testing the Alliance, roll a d6 and apply modifiers, +1 for each previous time that this test was made during this campaign cycle. Now, campaign cycles generally are quite short, depending on how long your campaigns are, of course, but usually they're only a few weeks. So you're not probably going to add many modifiers to this roll, but +3 when changing alignment. So if you are going from law-abiding to an outlaw to law-abiding, then that's going to affect it as well. But the D6 result is as follows. A 1 to 4 is disquiet, so no effect, not happy with the gang's actions, but continues to hold up their end of the alliance, at least for now. A 5 to 6 is a warning, so for the next battle, no benefits are gained, but drawbacks still apply. A warning is issued, and the gang must work to restore their good faith. And a 7+, so of course you need modifiers for this one on a d6, is broken and the alliance is over. But that's just giving you this sort of overview as to what alliances are. They're pretty useful in games, and like I said, they're most useful for gangs that do have a low rep particularly. Now rep doesn't always reflect how good a gang is doing in a campaign, so do bear that in mind. You can win lots of games and still lose rep depending on the scenarios as well. So there are other factors that do affect your rep. So having a low rep is going to help if you want to field these alliances in the actual game, but you can be a bit jammy and deliberately have a low rep to do that if you wanted to. Of course, I don't believe that has a place in Necromunda, but people do such things. So that's that for now. Moving on to the actual alliances in question. So we're going to start off with the guilds here. There are 6 guilds, 6 recidivists and 6 noble houses. We're going to start with the guilds here. And the first one is the Promethean Guild. So their strong alliance is House Van Saar, meaning that they have a better relationship with House Van Saar than they do with the other houses. Now, just quickly going back on something, I haven't actually said it yet, but if you've got the Book of the Outcast, then you'll notice that you can use these delegations as your outcast leadership group as well in your outcast gangs. So what I will just give you a quick sort of rundown of the total credits cost of these as well. So the Promethean Guild in this case costs 450 credits. So if you were to use it as an outcast the leading part of your gang, then that would be 450 credits worth, which is nearly half of your gang. But that's pretty good. They're quite good, the Promethean Guild. Promethean Guild has 4 members. So they have a leader who's a Pyrocian Lord. They have a Pyromagier who's your champion, 1 champion, and they have 2 gangers which are known as Cinders as well. Now the leader is interesting. He's got fairly good close combat stats. I'm not going to give too much of, you can see it here in fact on the graphic, but he comes with the skill Evade, which is a nice skill, and Overseer as well. You notice that it says faction only there, so Overseer will not work on the rest of the gang, it'll only work on this Promethean Guild conclave or whatever they're called. Your champion is pretty good as well, the Pyromagier. He comes with a flamer, so I mean anyone who comes with a flamer, sure he's only got ballistic skill 5+, but coming with a flavor doesn't affect that at all. And Nerves of Steel is amazing as well, even if he does have a call of 8+ there as well. But Refractor Fields and a cult icon, sorry. Refractor Field also on the leader there, which is nice, a 5+ invulnerable save. Until it gets burnt out anyway, and photon flash grenades as well on both of those, which is pretty cool. The next one is your Cinders. So you've got 2 gangers, or they count as gangers, which are your Cinders. They've both got the bodyguard skill, I believe, but they've got Spring Up and Indentured Fighter and Bodyguard, yeah, as I just mentioned there as well. Las Pistols, either an axe or a maul, and photon flash grenades as well. So pretty good actually, the Promethean Guild, particularly for the fact that you get a flamer with Nerves of Steel, which is always quite sexy. And the leader's not bad there as well with his shock stave, las pistol, and photon flash grenades. I love photon flash grenades. For 15 credits, I think they're absolutely fantastic, and you're getting lots of them. In fact, 4 of them on this one as well. They do have special rules, and the main special rule on these guys, and the reason why you'd want to take them, is really, really powerful. They've got something called light in dark places when joining the battle. So if they are on the field, they can turn the lights on and off, which is pretty disgusting. Obviously, House Delac are known for doing this with their tactics cards, but these guys can just start the battle with the lights off and just turn it on whenever they feel like it. They've also got those flash grenades to work with the dark as well, which is pretty cool. And blaze weapons, of course. The other thing they've got is in Helmor's Radiance, which means that your blaze weapons and your plasma weapons, just plasma and blaze, any of those weapons gain the plentiful trait, which is pretty cool as well. So they lose scarce if they've got scarce. If they're not scarce, they gain plentiful, which is just fantastic. So very nice indeed. So your flamers are plentiful from now on as well, which is kind of disgusting. Now they do have drawbacks as well. So if you gain any credits from your scenario rewards, you have to give D3 times 10 credits over to the guild. So you do have to pay a little bit of money every now and then for some of these alliances, in fact for most of them. But that is the Promethean Guild. Really cool. They haven't got miniatures for those yet, but I've seen some nice conversions. Really, really cool indeed. The next one is the Guild of Coin. 520 credits if you're to use them in an outcast gang. But these guys are interesting. So they get a special rule called Tollways, which means you gain an additional D6 times 10 credits when receiving scenario rewards. So just by having these guys as an alliance, you get more money. However, if you gain any credits as a scenario reward, you pay D3 times 10 credits, or the full reward gained if it was less than the result of the roll. So pretty good. You know, you're getting D6 times 10 credits, which offsets that D3 times 10 credits that you have to pay them at the end of the game as well. When they join the battlefield, before determining a scenario where this alliance is taking part, when defending, pass a leadership test for the leader to steal the initiative from the enemy and use the ambush or trap scenario as the attacker. So you get a little bit of tactical sway there in terms of the actual scenarios that you're playing. In terms of the actual delegation that you get here, again, it's 4 fighters. You get your Master of Coin, who has Escape Artist and Overseer, again faction only, a las pistol and a power knife. His stats are very average indeed, but he does come with a displacer field and a gun skull, which are two very expensive pieces of equipment there. Displacer fields are excellent. You've then got your champion, who's a skinflint, which is a great name, by the way. He's got Lilo, a plasma pistol, a knife, mesh armor, and a cult icon, which is pretty cool as well. And then you've got your two gangers, who are called Grovelers, which is a really cool name as well. They've got Lilo, bodyguard, indentured fighter, and knife, and they can choose one individually, either a long rifle or a shotgun with solid and scatter there as well. So pretty cool. I'd probably just take two long rifles, to be fair, because I just love them, and they can just sit back and take shots at people. But really cool. That's the Guild of Coin. Moving on to the next guild now. Now remember, you can only use these guilds if you are, you know, what should we call it? A lawful gang. You can't use them if you're an outlaw gang. But the next guild we're going to be talking about here is the Iron Guild. Now the Iron Guild is probably the least interesting of all of them. It sounds cool, but it doesn't really give you fancy stuff. It just gives you D3 plus 2 generic hive scum, which I think come with 60 credits worth of gear each. And now if you get 5 hive scum, that's pretty good value actually, but if you only get, you know, 2, or sorry, 3 is the minimum, I suppose, 5 is the maximum, but it's not bad, but it's certainly nothing exciting. However, they do have their benefits as well. The main rule that you've got here is guns, guns, guns. So the reason why you want to take this alliance is because of this. Trading post bonuses for ranged weapons are -2 rarity, which is really cool, meaning that, you know, that power sword that's rarity 9 or something is suddenly rarity 7, which is really cool. You've got D3 times 10 cost, sorry, minus D3 times 10 cost on those items as well, to a minimum of 5 credits. And optional test the alliance to have D3 times 20 discount instead. So you can make that, you can optionally make that test if you want to trade off with getting a big discount on something, which could be worth it at the end of a phase, that's for sure. The other thing is that you have militia surplus, which is a drawback to having the Iron Guild as an alliance. So one or more fighters dies, all of their weapons and equipment go to the Iron Guild, so you don't get to keep them or sell them. I mean, deaths aren't that common, but they do happen, and if it's your leader who's got a fucking, I don't know, heavy bolter or something, then it's a lot of money that's going to your Iron Guild. So that's the Iron Guild anyway. The next one is the Water Guild. Now these ones do have miniatures and they are fantastic. If you haven't seen them before, then they're really sort of alien and otherworldly, but there's only 3 in the crew. They have a Master Nautican, they have a Cypher Knight, which is your champion, and they have a Subnauting as well, which is a huge guy in a massive sort of like diving bell suit sort of thing. It's pretty cool. These guys look amazing. Go check them out on Forge World if you haven't already. I've got them myself. They're very fiddly to put together, but they're really lovely miniatures, particularly the Subnauticon. I think he's a real fan favourite, this one. But you've got water levies, which is a drawback here. If you gain any credits as a scenario award, again, that's that D3 times 10 credits. I think it's the same for all of these pretty much. And then you've got water harvest as well. So when they join the battle, after a battle where this alliance is taking part, if the leader has not gone out of action, add +1 to the capture roll for each guild member that has not gone out of action. If an enemy is captured, the captured fighter's gang can pay the full value as ransom. If not, the captured fighter may be sold to the guilders for full value immediately, denying the captured fighter's gang any rescue, which is a bit harsh, but can give you a little bit of money there as well. Now, the Master Nautican, the guild procurator, is fairly average with his stats, as you can see. He's got Step Aside, which is a weird skill to have on him, and Overseer, again, faction only. Comes with a needle pistol and a stiletto knife, so lots of tox in there, which is pretty cool. He's got mesh armor, a bio booster, and a stim slug stash as well. But for his stats, he's not particularly great with those items. You've then got your Cypher Knight, who is similar. This one has a terrible weapon skill, but quite a high, an okay ballistic skill of a 4. He's only strength 2, and he's a bit of a weakling all round. His mental stats are pretty crap there as well. Comes with dodge, which is a 6+ invuln save, basically, a needle rifle, and a stiletto knife. So again, lots of tox in there, and he comes with mesh and a cult icon there as well. The reason why you're going to take these guys is not because they're good in the game, it's because they look really fucking cool. Particularly this guy, the Subnauticon, who is basically a giant Ogryn. He's got sort of Ogryn stats, so he's got a toughness and a strength of 5, 3 wounds, 2 attacks, and he's got open fists, a hazard suit, and an armored undersuit. So he's got a 5-up save, but he's also, you know, can't be set on fire and stuff, which is pretty cool. Comes with Berserker, meaning that you're getting, I don't know, 4 or 5 attacks on the charge or something. And he's your bodyguard and indentured fighter there as well. So that's the Water Guild. The next one, the penultimate one, is the Corpse Guild. Now they've just recently revealed on the Warhammer community the miniatures for the Corpse Guild, and they are even better than the Water Guild, if you ask me. They're fantastic, really beautiful. I love them to bits. But they're strong alliances with House Cawdor, of course, because they're the Corpse Guild. And they're 550 credits if you want to use them in an Outcast gang there as well. Meat for the grinders is the test trigger. So one or more friendly fighters suffer a critical injury. A random fighter who suffered a critical injury can't have a medical escort and is removed from the gang as if they died. Pretty harsh, that one, but they just chop him up and make him into corpse starch, I imagine. And you then have a rule called This One's Still Moving. So after a battle where the allies joined, roll a d6 for any fighters that went out of action and suffered a critical injury. On a 6, change the result to a memorable death. So real nasty, but very much suits the fluff of the Corpse Guild. Your leader is the Pale Consort, which I think the model is like a chick in a dress. Looks really cool. Comes with Fearsome, she's scary. An Overseer, of course, a las pistol and a knife, a Medi-Skull, a Respirator and mesh armor. Stats wise, pretty terrible. Weapon skill 5+, ballistic skill 4, strength toughness 3, things like that. Very average indeed. A call of 8, which is terrible too, but looks cool. That's the main thing. You then got your champion, who's your Bones Scrivener. This is the best model I think Games Workshop have released for Necromunda ever. Bold statement, but I just think it's that good. I'm not going to describe what he looks like, but just fantastic. Your Bone Scrivener has Fearsome and a stiletto knife with a gun, skull, a respirator and cult icon. So, you know, and again, terrible stats, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 4, initiative 5, basically just awful. He's kind of a squat though, which is cool. You've then got 2 gangers, which are your corpse grinders. So these aren't to be confused with corpse grinder cults, because they're not, these guys aren't chaotic in any way. They are kind of good guys. They're the corpse grinders who do the work without complaining, basically, without starting an uprising. And they come with Crushing Blow, which is actually quite a good skill. It's a brawn skill. And they've got Bodyguard and Indentured Fighter as well, but they come with Chain Glaives, which are very expensive and very powerful and good close combat weapons. They come with flak armor as well. Now they've got a weapon skill of 3, which is excellent with a Chain Glaive. Chain Glaives are also versatile. I think -2 AP and 2 damage as well, really nasty. And Crushing Blow as well to add to that. They also come with 2 wounds each and 2 attacks as well, so that's the real reason why you're going to take that. Well, the first reason is because they look cool. The second reason is because the corpse grinders are actually really good as well. So on to the last guild now, and that is the Slave Guild. I'm going to use these guys in the video, so I'm going to put a picture of these guys up as well, but I've got these painted up and I've used them as a gang in a couple of battle reports, if you've seen those as well. There's 710 credits if you want to use them as an Outcast delegation, which is a lot. It means you've only got a very small amount of money left over. But they're really good. Their strong alliance is Goliath, of course, and they've got a couple of special rules here as well. So weapon training: before each battle, a leader or champion may choose a temporary primary skill, and it only lasts for the single battle, which is really good. Slaves for the Pit is a drawback here. So when capturing fighters, choose one of the following. You can immediately give the captured fighters to the Slave Guild, so just give them over, or you can test the alliance, or you can break the alliance. So it's really your choice. And then you've got a Promised Fighter as well. So after the battle where the allies joined, if at least one friendly gang fighter took an enemy fighter out of action with a close combat attack or coup de grace, randomize one such fighter and roll a d6. On a 1, the fighter, including weapons and war gear, is lost. The Chain Lord is impressed and claims that fighter for a career in the fighting pits. On a 2 to 5, nothing happens, and on a 6, you gain d3 times 10 credits, which is nice. What's not to like about that? But looking at the stats of the actual guys here, again, you've got a delegation of 4 here, led by a Chain Lord, which is actually really good. He comes with Hurl, which is a weird skill, Overseer, and either a Chain Glaive or a Shock Whip and Chain Axe. Personally, I'd actually go with the Shock Whip and Chain Axe, because I do really rate the Chain Axe. I think it's such a great weapon. The Shock Whip's pretty cool too, to be honest. And he's got a Light Carapace, a Bio Booster, and a Stim Slug stash. As you can see, his stats are pretty awesome. He's quite slow, but he's got weapon skill of 3 up, strength toughness 4, 2 wounds, 2 attacks, and a call of 6, which is nice too compared to all the rest of these guild leaders. You then got your Shackleman, who's the kind of weakest link, excuse the pun. He's got disarm and a harpoon launcher with a shock stave, flak and a cult icon. I've used this guy, he's usually been quite good actually, but when you look at him on paper, he's not great. However, he does have 2 wounds, a very shit ballistic skill with that harpoon launcher is the real problem there, and otherwise very average or below average stats there. Your last 2 are both pit fighters, and they come with Rain of Blows, a bodyguard and indentured fighter. They come with chain glaives, each flak and stim slug stashes. Not quite as good as the corpse grinders in terms of their stats and stuff, but they're really, really good with those stim slug stashes and 2 attacks as well. So that is the slave guilds. In fact, that's all of the guilds. So we're going to move on to the next bit now. But as you can see, there's quite a lot of variation in those 6. I think if I was going to sort of tier them quickly though, I think the Iron Guild's probably the weakest, just because it doesn't give you any sort of like model bonuses really. You're just getting scum. It's a bit boring, that one. The Guild of Coins pretty cool. I don't think it's that great. However, it has got some cool sort of stuff with it. The Water Guild isn't very good in game, but it just looks really cool. The Corpse Guild as well, I quite like. They just look amazing, but really you're going to get them for the corpse grinders themselves because they're pretty good. Particularly if you're a gang that doesn't have lots of close combat, those guys will really help you. But the Slave Guild really take the cake for me. I think that the models are fantastic, really, really nice to paint as well. And they're just very good. Again, like I think entering into an alliance like this, if you are like a Van Saar gang or something, sure, these aren't your strong alliance, but if you are really lacking some close combat and some muscle, then these guys could really help you out there as well and complement your gang quite nicely. So on to the recidivists. I find that word very hard to say for some reason. I think I've got it right though, please correct me if I'm wrong. But there are 6 of these as well, similar to the guilds there. Now these are the criminal alliances. Well, that's what recidivist means, I think, criminal. But there are 6 of these as well, and they are really fucking cool. Arguably cooler than the guilds, actually, if you ask me. And the first one is the Cold Traders. So what these guys do is they are, what are they? Cold Traders, I suppose they deal in, stolen goods, mainly weapons and ammunition, alien stuff, mainly. And you can tell because of the stuff that they come equipped with. So anyway, the strong alliance here is Escher. And they come with a smuggler shore party, which is pretty cool as well. So 4 members of the party here. The leader is your Cold Trader, and he's got a decent ballistic skill. Comes with Step Aside, faction only Overseer, like most of them. A sling gun, which if you don't know is pretty cool. They're basically a shuriken catapult. I think it is a shuriken catapult. And a stiletto knife. Armor weave and a bio booster. So pretty cool set of equipment there. It's quite useful. The sling gun is great. It's quite short range, but it's pretty good. And then you've got your ballistic skill 3+ there as well. 2 wounds, 2 attacks. Why not? Very nice indeed. You then got your champion, your bosun, who comes with dodge and a shotgun with solid and scatter and a knife. With mesh armor. He's only got 1 wound for a champion, which isn't much, and only strength 2 as well, which is terrible. And very average or below average stats otherwise. But the real reason why you're taking the Cold Trader smuggling shore party is for these 2 gangers, the Voidborn Scum. Now I don't know if this was originally a misprint or what, but they're basically Ogryns. You've got the stats of an Ogryn, 3 wounds, strength 5, toughness 5, 2 attacks, and there are 2 of them. Now, the weirder thing here is they're armed with knives and either auto pistols or las pistols. So having Ogryns with pistols is pretty cool. Ogryns with knives even is pretty cool actually, and they come with flak armor as well. Now, if you're going to use the Cold Trader smuggling shore party in an outcast gang, they're 600 credits. I think I've seen the most outcast gang delegation or delegation-led outcast gangs online in forums and stuff. Led by Cold Traders. The Cold Trader seems to be the sort of choice of lots of people because you can make some really cool conversions and kit bashes with the Cold Traders, I think. You could have an Eldar Corsair as the leader there. You could, instead of the Ogryns, you could do something else. You could have just an alien party, I think would be really, really cool. The bosun could be, I don't know, a squat or something like that. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, but I probably will do them at some point. Now the sort of bonus special rules that you get for the Cold Traders are as follows. So your Xenos artifacts, like I said, they trade in Xenos stuff. Your leaders and champions can purchase the following: sling guns and armor weave as as they're on your house list, which is really, really cool. I mean, you're not going to want to spam sling guns. It would be a bit weird. They're also scarce as well, which isn't very handy, and they're 55 credits each. They're not the best weapon in the game. Bolt guns are far better, if you ask me, but they are useful having that AP -2. So, it's cool. I mean, Armor Weaver is very good as well for 20 credits as well. But your drawbacks are as followed as well. So they prefer the scenarios, the hit, escort mission, and last stand. Option to choose a scenario, roll a d6 on a 1 to 3 attack in a preferred scenario. So one of those 3 scenarios that I just mentioned. On a 4 to 6, you get to choose freely. And the last thing is Imperial Entanglements. So the test trigger, after fielding allies in a battle, one random friendly gang fighter not in recovery must miss the next battle. Lay low to avoid investigation. That can really suck, especially if it's random, because you could lose a champion or your leader in the next battle. So that is a big, what's the word? It is a big drawback, I'd say, that one, but they're still really, really cool. The next one is Imperial Imposters. So this is only 1, so you only get 1 fighter here, and this is your Master Charlatan. This guy is badass. He has got weapon skill, ballistic skill 3+, so he's like a champion. He's got 3 wounds though, and 2 attacks, a cool of 5. He's really, really good stats-wise. He's 280 credits if you want to have him as your outcast leader as well, and I've thought about it, to be honest. Skills-wise, you get evade, infiltrate, and step aside, so 3 skills that he comes with. A needle pistol, a stiletto sword, and 4 digilasers, meaning you're getting 4 extra strength 1 attacks, which is really, really cool. You've then got mesh, a holochromatic field, which is awesome, and a falsehood. Now falsehoods, if you've used falsehoods at all, or you know about falsehoods, they basically mean that you can just go unseen for the first 2 turns in the game. Pretty disgusting. Really, really good. Anyway, that's the Master Charlatan. An honourable word is the special rule here, so do not add the +3 modifier when testing the alliance after changing alignment. Ignore -2 modifier for rare items at the training post and black market. And each cycle you can choose 1 gang, the allied gang or another gang. The chosen gang can ignore any 1 action that would result in changing the alignment. So yeah, lots of alignment changing stuff there. And then you've got sort of drawbacks here as well. So noble ambitions. It's the same sort of scenario choice thing there as you had with the cold traders. And then you've got guilty by association. So after feeling an ally in battle, roll a 2+ or become outlawed. So you become outlawed if you don't roll a 2+ when using this guy. Pretty cool though. And again, lots of options for making really cool looking Master Charlatans there as well. The next recidivist here is the Narco Lords. Now these guys are very similar to your, was it Iron Guild I think we talked about earlier? The Strong Alliance is House Goliath, and it gives you D3+2 scum again. So you're not taking them for the scum, you're taking them for the special rules, and that's abundant supply. So your chems are -2 rarity and legality, and your supply never runs out as well. So you get much more access to chems, and they're much easier to get hold of as well. Drawbacks, you get courier work here, so again, exactly the same with the scenario stuff there as well. And also you have to pay D3 × 10 to the Alliance as well, from your scenario rewards there as well. Moving on to the last 2 now, we've got the Psi Syndicate here. This is of course Strong Alliance with House Delac. And what you get here is one fighter, and that's your Mind-Locked Weird, who is an unsanctioned psyker, not sanctioned, so definitely a criminal. Fairly bad stats, but a willpower of 4+, which is fantastic for being a weird, which is what you need. They come with Fearsome, Mesh Armor, and 3 of the following weird powers. Now this was made before the new weird powers came in, so you can tell. You can choose 3 of the following. You've got Scouring, Assail, Force Blast, Maddening Visions, Hypnosis, and Unbreakable Will. So some okay ones. They're not great. Scouring's okay, Assail's okay, but it relies on ballistic skill. And mind you, it's got a ballistic skill of 3+, so it's not too bad. They're okay. While becoming allied though, a fighter can gain the following. Become an unsanctioned psyker, and you get 1 random psychedelic weird power from a chosen discipline, either Darkness, Delusion, or Madness. So that's pretty cool. Your drawbacks are, again, very much similar to the last thing in terms of the Oh no, hang on, actually they're slightly different. So starting a battle, you pass a willpower test for a random friendly fighter not in recovery, or that fighter can't be part of the crew for this battle. That sucks. It's called Dark Dreams. And you've then got the Psychonarium Attention. So a friendly psyker used any psychic power in the battle. After the battle, roll a d6 plus 1 per friendly unsanctioned psyker. On a 7+, you suffer a lasting injury for a random friendly fighter, which is pretty nasty as well. Probably the weakest one out of all of these so far, apart from the one that gives you the scum, the last one we talked about there. Okay, so the last one out of all the recidivists, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice a bit here, I don't think I've been talking as much lately, is the Rogue Factoria. So this one's quite interesting, I quite like this one to be honest. It's 5 guys, so it's quite a big crew, and they're terrible. So it's 5 spammy guys, they're worth 315 credits, so if you're going to use them in an outcast gang, it would be kind of weird because they're actually worse than your scum, which is weird. But here are the stats. Your leader, I've actually made these models as well. I've used them as an alliance. I quite like them. I wanted to use an alliance that wasn't too good, so I went with these guys in a sort of swarmy numbers game, I suppose. And they were actually quite powerful just because there's 5 of them. But your leader comes with a ballistic skill of 3+ and 2 wounds and 2 attacks, so that's okay. He's got commanding presence and overseer. He has an auto plasma pistol combi weapon and a shock baton with mesh armor, so not too bad at all. The auto plasma pistol combi weapon is pretty decent actually, and the shock baton's okay too. You've then got your work party boss, who has iron will and a las pistol and a shock whip with mesh armor as well. Terrible weapon skill of a 5+. He's strength 2, wounds 1, attacks 1. Yeah, just not very good at all. But there you go. And then you've got 3 Factoria workers. So these are factory workers that are really pissed off and unionized. And they come with either a reclaimed auto gun or a reclaimed auto pistol and knife. So you can choose there, have them all with reclaimed auto guns, or have them, you know, a bit of a mix and match. But they have a weapon skill and ballistic skill of a 5+, which is terrible. So they're worse than scum. In fact, they've got the same stats as a scum. They're slower with a movement of 4, lower with weapon skill and ballistic skill. Otherwise, the stats are exactly the same as your scum, and they're worth 25 credits each. Bounteous production is the special rule here. So before the battle, set up 2 loot caskets instead of 1 if the scenario doesn't specify any special instructions for loot caskets. Bargain ordnance is the special rule here. So you've got weapons from the black market at -2 rarity. They count as illegal instead of legal as well if they're not already illegal. -20% cost, rounded down to the nearest 5 credits. Melee weapons gain reckless. All ranged weapons gain unstable, which is terrible. And fighters armed with counterfeit weapons are worth full value when sold to the guilders, which is cool because they're counterfeit. And then you've then got hedge armorers as well, so +1 free ammo jack while allied. So you do get an ammo jack as well out of it, which is really good value if you ask me. I like ammo jacks. Just having a free one there is quite pleasant. And then you've got the drawbacks here as well. So Eye of the Omnisia. If including fighters with counterfeit weapons, the opponent may include a bounty hunter for free. You then got Factoria workers as well, so if you're playing the hit, escort mission or last stand, include the allies in the crew. And your test trigger include counterfeit weapons in a battle, then you include the allies in the crew as well. So this is the last one. This is a strong alliance with House Orlok, and similar to the Master Charlatan, you only get 1 here, and that's a Rebel Lord. So these are really cool. Similar sort of stats, actually, not as fast as the Master Charlatan, but weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, 3 wounds, 2 attacks, initiative 3. Really good actually, like a leader, but only movement 4, which kind of sucks. Now you get to choose 2 skills from agility, combat, cunning, or shooting. So you've got some really cool skill choices you can take there. Any of those skills are available. You've got 2 digi-lasers, you've got a bolt pistol or mastercrafted needle pistol, so you've got a bit of choice here. I'd personally always take the bolt pistol, because I quite like bolt pistols. But then again, if you want some toxin, mastercrafted needle pistol is quite nice. You've either got a power sword, a stiletto sword, or a thunder hammer. So take the thunder hammer just because it's fun. A mesh armor and either a displacer field or a refractor field. Always take the displacer field. 4+ unmodified save is just really fun. Plus you get to bounce around like crazy. And that is your Fallen House one there as well. So I think they're 305 credits if you want to use them as a Outcast leader. However, there are better options. Certainly, you can use Lady Credo, who is a better version of a Rebel Lord, and she's 250. So she's quite cheap. She's quite cheap compared to a normal Rebel Lord, and she's better as well. And that is all of your recidivists. So out of all of those, some really cool ones. I think the Cold Traders probably take the cake on that, but they're all good. The Master Charlatan's really, really nice as well. When I look at these, I always think of them from an Outcast gang perspective and using them as a leader or whatever. The Size Syndicate, I think, is probably the weakest one actually, and so are the Narco Lords with those scum. But some of the benefits from that is pretty cool as well. So the third part of this episode, and we're going to be talking about noble houses now. So we've done the guilds, we've done the recidivists, and now we're going to be doing the noble houses. Now, of course, there are 6 known noble houses, apart from Helmor's house, of course. House Grime, Ulanti, House Tai, House... off the top of my head, I don't know, but we're going to go into it now. And there are some miniatures already available for the first ones, and this is House Grime. Now, House Grime are the sort of military sort of house, I suppose, on Necromunda. They provide a lot of these sort of conscripts for the Imperial Guard and stuff like that, I think, as well. But really, really interesting. And I think the noble houses, actually, out of all 3 types, from the guilds to the recidivists here, I think the noble houses are by far my favourite, definitely. They've got the most flavour, I think. So House Grime here, strong alliance with House Goliath. And you get to use the military attaché, which is 2 models, or 2 in the party, should I say. You've got a Kriegmeister, who's the leader. He's got Overseer, a bolt pistol, a power sword, and light carapace armour. So all the gears, but relatively no ideas. He's got okay stats. Only 1 attack, though. Wounds 2, and very average ballistic skill and weapon skill there as well. However, you get the Jägerkin as well, who's a female sort of senior officer. She looks pretty cool here as well. She's got a decent ballistic skill of a 3+, only 1 wound though, but 2 attacks, and she comes with Marksman, Bodyguard, Indentured Fighter, and a combat shotgun, which is always great, with mesh armor. So for 330 credits, that's pretty damn good if you're going to use them as an Outcast stuff. But having the Kriegmeister as your leader in the Outcast gang he's not really that exciting. He's not really that good. However, the Jägerkin does bring that very cheap combat shotgun, so it's worth thinking about. Now, in terms of the special rules, any friendly gang fighter can re-roll ammo tests, which is amazing. And you've also got an eye for war, so modify the roll to determine scenario with +1 or -1. If this ability is used, the military attaché must be included in the crew. You then got your drawbacks as well, so you've got your militia draft here. So after each battle, if the gang contains juves, roll 2+ per juve, or give the juve to the militia, including weapons and war gear. So if you're Cawdor and you've got these guys and you've got lots and lots of bone pickers, then say goodbye to some of your bone pickers. You've then got seconded to the militia as well, so randomise a gang fighter and apply the following. So immediately suffer a lasting injury roll. Critical injury is and a memorable death. In recovery, they must miss this battle. If they're killed, you gain the credits equal to the cost compensated by the allies. And you gain D6 XP if you survive. So that's interesting as well. And that's House Grime. Really amazing models, though. That's probably the reason why you're going to want those guys. The next one is House Ulanti. Now, these are obviously the strong alliance with House Escher. House Ulanti are quite similar, sort of aesthetically, I think. But you've got two in this one as well. You've got your Lady, or your Courtier, and your Mirror Mask. Now, these guys are really cool. They've got some amazing special rules here. They're both pretty similar. They both come with needle pistols and power swords, in fact, and displacer fields, so the same equipment. The leader has counterattack and step aside, and the Mirror Mask has nerves of steel, which is definitely the better skill. And they're 460 credits if you're going to use them in an Outcast gang. Pretty cool though, because they've got these special rules. So the leader has Duelist, so you can make reaction attacks before the opponent makes attacks as part of a charge. So if someone charges her, you get to hit first, which is just crazy when you've got a needles pistol and a power sword. Really, really good, especially with weapon skill 3 and 2 attacks there as well. Not bad at all. You've also got a mirror mask. So your mirror mask has got a special rule called many faces. When activating, you can swap positions with the courtier regardless of where they are on the battlefield. So you can just interchange these two fighters wherever they are. Really, really cool. And the fighter continues taking actions as normal. So you can just keep swapping them around. Really, really cool. They've also got excessive wealth. So you get plus 2d6 times 10 credits during the post-battle sequence, which is, for me, the main reason why you take this, in fact. However, they've got some pretty big drawbacks as well. If you lose a battle, if the alliance is broken, the opponent, the gang that won the battle, can form an alliance with House Yuan-ti for the next battle, even if already in an alliance. Afterwards, the alliance with the opponent is automatically broken. Okay, the next one is House Ranlow. So this is Orlok. This is the house I know the least about, I suppose. There aren't models for these guys yet either, but I'll be interested to see what they look like. Now again, you've only got two guys in this one as well. You have an Auditor, who has got terrible weapon skill and ballistic skill. He has got 2 wounds though, but it comes with Fearsome, a web pistol and a knife. So he's worth it just for taking that web pistol, to be honest. Mesh armor. You've then got your Gelt Scrivener as well, which is a cool name. He's got Trick Shot, Bodyguard, Indentured Fighter, Mastercrafted Long Rifle, Bolt Pistol and Power Sword. So all the gear there. Plus he's got a decent ballistic skill, 3+ there, and Mesh armor. Always more coin is one of the special rules here. So you gain 2d6 times 10 credits after each battle. Again, very, very similar to House Yuan-ti that we just talked about there as well. And checks and balances here too. So you gain 2d6 times 10 credits after each battle if any opponent earned more credits from the scenario than the allied gang, which is pretty cool. So loads of money. Now, less than 50 credits in the stash after the post-battle sequence, and you have to test the alliance. And if a 6 is rolled on a dice when collecting random amount of income from resources, that dice is discarded and does not generate any credits. So you get lots of money from having them, but you get less money from your resources and stuff. So it's a bit of a weird one, that, but they're pretty cool. Again, the web pistol is great on the leader there, and having the Mastercrafted Long Rifle, Bolt Pistol, Power Sword guy, pretty cool actually. It'd be interesting to see what they look like. I have no idea what they're going to look like, but nice. You've then got Co-Iron, which is the house closely allied to House Cawdor, and they come with an Adeptus Ministorum delegation. So guys from the church, or Ecclesiarchy as they're also known, and they come with a Prima Materis, who has Devotional Frenzy, Overseer, a Bolt Pistol, Shock Stave, Light Carapace Armor, and a Refractor Field. Really nice indeed. His stats are decent as well. He's got a decent ballistic skill of a 3-up, 2 wounds, 2 attacks. Decent mental stats there as well. And you get 2 Frateris Bodyguards. So these guys, you get 3 instead of 2 with the other noble houses. But these guys come with Devotional Frenzy, Bodyguard, of course, and then you can choose one, either a las pistol and an eviscerator, or a las gun and a chainsword. I think I know which one I'm going to take, the eviscerator. Absolutely fantastic weapon. And a las pistol for backup, what's not to like? And mesh armor as well. You then get the special rules of the Emperor Protects. So all fighters in this alliance can re-roll nerve and rally tests if the result is 2 before modifiers, so similar to your Cawdor. You've also got religious relics here as well, so a leader can have 1 item, armor or weapon, blessed or blessed while allied, which means you can re-roll a failed hit or save once per battle. Pretty cool, that. And then you've got similar sort of drawbacks to the other ones. So if you lose a battle, your leader must start the next battle with a flesh wound. You get punished, which is really cool. You get whipped by these guys. And then you've got the test trigger of before each battle, before selecting crews, randomize a gang fighter, tithe to the militia, and apply the following. Immediately suffer a lasting injury roll. In fact, it's exactly the same as what we had with the House Grime one there as well, I believe, by the looks of it, yeah. Okay, next one is the most fun one and the best one, because I've used these guys as a delegation in an Outcast gang in a whole campaign, and they were just fantastic. I really love the fluff. I built a gang around the House Catalyst delegation here. Now, House Catalysts are closely allied with Vansar. They're basically crazy murder clowns. Pretty cool. They're like a carnival of guys. In fact, they are called the carnival here. You have a masked killer and a mind frayed. So the masked killer is kind of like an assassin. Mine, Yuki Yagyu, was just awesome. She's really fast with a movement 6, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3, 2 wounds, 3 attacks, and a call of 5+, which is fantastic. She comes with dodge, she comes with a las pistol, and she gets either a mastercrafted power sword or a mastercrafted long rifle. I went for the power sword because obviously I prefer close combat generally. But you could go for the mastercrafted long rifle and have a snipey sort of one there as well. And she comes with a mesh armor and photo goggles. I can't wait for the models of these guys, but I did use the assassin from Blackstone Fortress for this one. I just gave her a las pistol in the offhand. And she's got something called Artistry of Murder, which is disgusting. So all weapons gain the shock trait, which means auto wounding with hit rolls of 6. And then you've also got re-rolling any flesh wounds as well. So if you cause a bunch of flesh wounds, you can re-roll them. So she's very much a killer. The next one is your Mind Frayed. Now this guy is the murder clown. He's hilarious. I loved him to bits. You know, he's quite fast with movement 6. Weapon skill is average, and he's only got 1 wound and 2 attacks, but he does come with a displacer field. So he's got a 4+ invuln save and bounces around and stuff as well. 2 flails, which are +1 to hit and +1 strength. So suddenly you're hitting on, you know, 3s with strength 4. It's nice, and they can't be parried either. And he comes with Berserker, so you've got 4 attacks on the charge, hitting on 3s, strength 4, not bad at all. He took out a lot of people actually. If you watch some of the older battle reports, I think there was one game where he took 5 or 6 guys out in one game. It just was on a roll. Just fantastic. He's also got special rules, Infectious Terror. So any fighter, friend or foe, within 6 inches of this guy, when he is pinned, you have to pass the cool test or you're pinned, friend or foe, which is pretty cool. If this fighter fails a nerf test, you have to pass a nerf test or become broken. And while this fighter is broken, you can't recover from becoming broken either. Of course, that's quite situational because it's only 6 inches, but it's pretty cool. It's more likely to happen to your own fighters, unfortunately. Captured fighters from a gang with this alliance are worthless when sold to the guilders. The enemy can still sell the captured fighter, but no bounty is gained and the fighter is effectively removed. Once each cycle, if the gang with this alliance is law-abiding, a change in alignment can be ignored, but the gang must test the alliance immediately. Many faces one purpose is another rule here. So before a battle, if the crew is random, the allied gang can replace this with random X × 1 plus custom 1. So you can have a little bit more choice in your random there as well. But if this ability is used, this alliance can't be included in the crew though. So you're probably not going to use that most of the time unless you really have to. Now drawbacks, Carnival of Death, fighting against a gang that includes a fighter worth 250 credits in the crew. You have to include these guys, the allies in the crew. And then you've got debts to be paid here as well. So after any battle in which this alliance joined that contained at least 1 Juve, not specialist, roll a 2+ per Juve, or remove the fighter, including weapons and war gear from the gang turned over to serve as Mind Frayed. So they turn into Mind Frayed, which is pretty cool. And then you've got the Invisible Truth as another drawback here. So a gang that has been allied with this alliance must always roll a 2+ when attempting to form another alliance in the future with any alliance, or the new alliance is Catalyst instead. So really cool, that one. The Invisible Truth. The next one is House Tai, which is a strong alliance with Dalak. These guys are really cool, very sort of Japanese sort of looking, I think, or by the sounds of it anyway. I've seen a few people doing conversions of these guys and they look very sort of old Nippon, I suppose. You've got the Onmyodo Telepath, who is Overseer, Shock Stave, Refractor Field. Only 1 wound though, which really lets this down. I wish it was 2 wounds. Inspirational Leader, so if standing, friendly fighters within 6 inches in line of sight to this fighter can use this fighter's call and willpower, which is really nice. And then you've got a Control Collar, unsanctioned Psyker as well. So when activated, you can use the Control Collar if no other friendly fighter has used its Control Collar this round. Only 0 to 1 fighter in this alliance can use its Control Collar, so both of the fighters have got Control Collars. You switch it on for the Onmyodo Telepath, and you can become a sanctioned Psyker for this round. The difference between sanctioned and unsanctioned means that sanctioned you can re-roll, I believe, 1 failed willpower check per game. Pretty good. Otherwise, the fighter does not count as a sanctioned Psyker. You can choose weird powers here as well. So when you become allied, you can choose 2 of the following. Either mind control, invisibility, hallucinations, terrify, mental assault, or unbreakable will. Now, telepathy generally is the strongest of all the weird power lists, if you ask me, and they're all good. But I particularly like hallucinations is very powerful. I really like terrify as well. Mental assault is great, and so is mind control as well, to be honest. Really, really nice there though, and she's got a willpower of 5+ as well. You've then got your Onmyodo null, so you've got a psychic null, and he's also got a collar, so he can turn that on, and it means that he's got a disruption of other weird powers and stuff as well. It's only within 6 inches though, which is a bit of a pain, and it's only -2 modifier to cool tests as well. In fact, no, psychic powers can't be manifested within 6 inches of him if he's got the collar on. But he's pretty good otherwise. He's got decent sort of stats, well, fairly average stats actually, but a really high cool of 5. But what he does come with is true grit, a bolt gun and a power sword, and mesh and a respirator. So really nice, quite a nice alliance here, but I just wish that the telepath had more than 1 wound. It's a bit of a shame. Psychic training is a special rule here. So while allied, a fighter with psychoteric mastery or any psyker with if no fighters have psychoteric mastery, gains +1 weird power from those available to that fighter. This is lost if the alliance is broken. And then your drawbacks. At the start of each battle after deployment, a random friendly fighter on the battlefield suffers a flesh wound. If you're fighting a battle against an enemy with a higher gang rating, then these guys are always included in the crew as well. And if you roll a double when determining the scenario before any battle, the opponent can select the scenario as well. And that is House Tie, and that is all of them in fact. So we've gone through all of them. I've completely lost my voice. It's been a little bit of a while since I did a video, so forgive me if this is a little bit haphazard and a little bit amateurish, but I'll get back in the flow of things once my mind is right. I've just come back from holiday actually in the Sunshine Coast, which was very pleasant. But I'm going to be back really shortly with the second part of my painting video. In fact, I'm going to start painting my Beastmen Bad Zone Enforcers really soon. I've got 6 days to do it before the start of our new campaign, so if I can finish them, then they'll be used in the new campaign. Otherwise, I'm going to be using Outcasts, I think so. Anyway, thanks for staying tuned. Again, massive thank you for the 3,000 subscribers there. I might have to do some sort of prize pretty soon as well. Huge shout out to all my Patreons as well. Now that we're in 2023, long may that continue. And yeah, please do like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace out.